Today, I am joined by Elliot Duck, the man behind the How to Sell on LinkedIn newsletter and the Convert More course. Elliot is a 5-time founder and entrepreneur, and he brings all of that business knowledge to our conversation today. So in this episode, Elliot breaks down his system for selling on LinkedIn that goes beyond just shouting into the void or creating a, quote, personal brand. Elliot and I discuss the importance and value of meaningful outreach, intentional engagement, and how this results in actual dollars on your bottom line. So if you're thinking about promoting your product or service on LinkedIn, or if you're a business owner who thinks LinkedIn might be the next marketing channel, then this episode is for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Adam, one half of the Digital Couplepreneur. I'm here with my new good friend, Elliot Duck. Elliot, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I really appreciate it.
It is my pleasure, Adam. I've been looking forward to this.
Very cool. Well, hey, before we dive into kind of our topic today, would you maybe quickly just give a little bit of your background? Because I think the journey of how you've gotten to where you are today is what is going to really make the insights that you're going to bring to the table so much more impactful. Because I know when we were having this conversation, I was just blown away by your level of experience, some of the different, just life adventures and success that you have seen, and the lessons that you've learned from those things. So yeah, take it away.
Yeah, sure. And, experience isn't always a good thing. Sometimes it can get you into trouble depending upon how you got it. And I think that's been a little bit of my route. I started out, my first business, I was window cleaning, direct service company. Then started my own business, basically manufacturing and selling kits of drilling equipment that people could put together themselves during the economy crash in 2008, because people weren't buying fully priced brand new pieces of equipment, and it made sense. It was my family's core business, so branching off on something of my own seemed exciting. But, around that, as an entrepreneur, I was always looking for the next thing as well. So I ended up being actually kind of like a fractional CMO before it was called that. I worked with a lot of different companies locally. And I ended up integrating through work, helping them with their marketing and sales systems. Actually, at a time once in the way back, I even did door-to-door sales for British Gas, which was interesting. Yeah, you want to learn sales the hard way? That's a great way to jump in the deep end. I did everything from manufacturing and sales to marketing to building a men's grooming brand, believe it or not. I got into cosmetic chemistry for a time, which was a fun hobby, but that inevitably led to a business where we had partnerships with boutique hotels in downtown Toronto. We got on Instagram and were picked up by GQ and ended up in a few magazines, Wired magazine, and got some distributors online too. Like, I've done a few different things looking for what I wanted to grow, and inevitably ended up selling all of those businesses until my core company was acquired in 2020. I stayed on with them for 4 years to manage the transition of the acquisition of the product line, where we built partnerships with Caterpillar and another billion-dollar brand that manages GPS location systems. And now I help other entrepreneurs build their businesses on LinkedIn, learning all of the things I wish I had known earlier on. So I didn't have to struggle with all of that. But yeah, I've gotten a lot of experience with a lot of different type of business. But throughout all of them, seeing the common threads of what worked, why it worked, where it didn't with the different business model. And then also through that, more importantly, learning how I want to spend my time. Like, what kind of business do I actually want to run? And that's sort of helped me get to where I am today. It's much more fulfilling to help other companies kind of learn how to get it right than it is trying to just build one on your own and, be stuck in that lane.
Well, that's one of the aspects of LinkedIn that I'm discovering the more time I spend on here. It is very much a social network, and the social aspect, the community aspect of it, is something that's so exciting. I mean, the fact that we're having this conversation right now is a perfect example of that. And we'll definitely talk about how this conversation came about, because that's one of the pieces that we want to get into as far as outreach is concerned. But yeah, just the fact that we started having a conversation and LinkedIn direct messages through, some comments that we had on another creator's post. And then now we're having this conversation. I'm getting a ton of value learning from your experience, and hopefully, the people that are watching this are going to get some value as well. So yeah, just that social aspect and helping other people. I mean, that's really what business is. is just solving other people's problems, helping them out. And if we can do that, if we can align ourselves as partners, that's really where long-term success in a business context can come, I think. Absolutely. So as we're kind of diving into it, let's see here. The concept that I wanted to specifically talk about is the importance of outreach versus just putting content out. And, in the world, so I'm a ghostwriter. I definitely come from the world of, writing, thinking about the pain points of your ideal customer, showcasing that in a way, showcasing case studies, trying to put your buyer in the mindset of being, or a potential customer into the mindset of being a buyer before they actually end up working with you or start working with you. But as we have been developing our own ghostwriting practice, we're realizing that there's a missing piece. And that is, if you're just kind of shouting into the void, it is not as effective as when you can actually engage with people, when you can have, a conversation with someone and then use your content almost in the back end, kind of help reinforce whatever the messaging or the conversation you're having as part of that. Before we dive into your specific strategy for how to do that, I'm curious, could you extrapolate that idea of the importance of conversation and outreach from your journey leading up to LinkedIn? So maybe take it off platform. Like, how important has these conversations been for you in your business before you started online like this?
It's a good question. You know what? It's going to break the rules of everything everybody talks about for building a business on LinkedIn, because a lot of the really successful businesses and entrepreneurs, creators that you see building on LinkedIn, they're building a lot of revenue off of LinkedIn as well, because those conversations are basically the core of your business. When we talked earlier, when we were manufacturing equipment for the solar installation industry, we got a product partnership with a $3.8 billion company by having a conversation and essentially by asking. So you see all the time these questions. Sometimes you see them in the comments as well, like, oh, how did you do this? And how did you get that? And how are you working with this other huge creator? And it's funny because the answer is always the same. It's, well, I asked. If you want to get a partnership with $1 billion company, or like we did with the grooming brand with a boutique hotel, go and ask them. And that's really what it comes down to, is having those conversations to get to a position where you can ask for stuff like that and get a yes. And sometimes there's a framework, maybe they have, maybe they have a sponsorship set up where you can go and ask to be part of it, and they have a specific arrangement for it. But in my case, all the business that I've ever got when I was running the marketing agency and was CMO fractionally for different businesses, I just phoned them up and said, I love what you're doing, saw your website, your products is incredible. How did you get started with that? Like, what challenges are you facing? And I've worked with other businesses, like maybe we could work together. And it's a conversation, it's not a pitch. And that always worked better than, how do I get them in my sales funnel? And I think you guys have kind of seen some of that as well as we talked. You're very diversified in what you do. So where did you see the beginning of conversations leading to business over a pitch?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that framing of it's not just a pitch, because, at some point you have to say, like, okay, here's my Stripe link or whatever, but leading up to that point, it is a collaborative process. When we started our ghostwriting agency, it kind of came about organically. My wife and I are entering this world of, we call it digital couplepreneurship or entrepreneurship essentially, but we're integrating our work life, just doing everything together. It's something that we're really passionate about. And so as we were doing that, we were learning about personal branding and content creation. And so we started a podcast, we started a newsletter for no other reason than we wanted to acquire the skills to be able to produce a podcast and have a newsletter. And we're just confident that, good things would come from that. And then as we were doing it, we had people reach out to us essentially and say, like, this is really fun. I wish you could do this for my business. And it was like, yeah, sure. Let's figure that out. And so we kind of organically started working with some people initially for free. I'm a big fan of work for free, because in the beginning, we should not have gotten paid. That was, we had to learn our system and how to actually deliver on the product. And so we had some incredible people that were willing to give us that runway. But then through that, it became just a natural progression where they were like, let's move forward in a more, contractual, kind of way of doing it. So then we actually started getting paid. And then they started referring people because things were working. And then we just started reaching out and having conversations with other people, in this case, it was executive women or business owners who had connections with Maggie. And we just started having these conversations in real life. And as soon as we started talking about what it was we were doing, they were either intrigued enough to get on a call, or we started to see the value of the content. They would go research us. They would do a little bit of Googling and see, oh, they are putting out content. I like their vibe. I like their style. And so then the content was selling on the back end. And so I saw those two things working together. And then as we're working with our ghostwriting clients now, we're realizing that there's another level another piece of the puzzle that we want to give to our clients. And that is some sort of outreach strategy so that the content that we're spending so much time and effort to create with them actually gets put in front of the right people. And then off of the back of that, they're able to actually engage in a meaningful way. And through that, result in some sales, but really positioning themselves as a consultant, if you will, or a helper. And so when I came across some of your content, you actually reached out to me. You reached out to me and you had this thing called Sell by Chat, your Sell by Chat framework. And then I didn't find that until after our conversation in the direct messages. And I went, I feel like Elliot reached out to me and sold me by chat. And so could you maybe tell me about the Sell by Chat framework? And then we'll kind of extrapolate that out to, the broader principles of outreach as well.
Okay, so I'm going to reverse engineer it a little bit from what you just said. In those conversations you were having with people, at any point, did you feel like you were directly selling them or making a pitch?
Oh, yeah, good point. I would say no. In fact, when we got to, and this is probably every beginning entrepreneur's challenge, or at least with every new product, when it got time to actually make the pitch to do hey, here's the cost of it or whatever, that was probably the most awkward part. But everything leading up to it, everyone is just, it's very much a collaborative process. Like I'm actually providing, they always say provide value. What does that actually look like? Well, it's actually, getting in and helping from the very beginning. And that made the whole, quote, sales process feel almost seamless. And then the dollar sign at the end just became here's the next step kind of a thing. Yeah.
So, that is really the foundation of a consultative selling method. Instead of positioning yourself as a salesperson and a client, and you're having this almost a tug of war in conversation until somebody gives in and buys, you're really positioning yourself as a consultant or as a partner to them. And genuinely looking for ways like, here's how we can help. And that type of conversational framework can be directed towards a sale without it being a pitch. And I feel like there's a big gap between sales and marketing where people feel like selling is pitching and marketing is just talking at people through your content. And the truth is they go together and they should align together, especially if you're an established business and you're making money. If you don't understand how your sales and marketing support one another and combine, your strategy needs some serious work because you're leaving money on the table. The way you sell someone, let's say a $50 piece of equipment, is not the way you sell someone a $500,000 partnership with your business or product integration. You can't be like, what do I have to do to gain your business for this huge $500,000 partnership? Like it has to be a conversation. You have to be willing to be partners and then work together for a common goal. So on LinkedIn, when you start getting into social selling, you're not selling as much as you are showing them why your partnership with them is valuable. And I think you guys inadvertently adopted a consultative selling method to show that, which is why it's worked. You said organically. It hasn't been organic. You guys have deliberately worked at something that has proven results. But for you, it feels like it just naturally happened because all you did was talk to people. So what I build on LinkedIn, through my course and coaching is helping my clients understand how selling can feel organic through a conversation that has direction. And that's where Sell by Chat comes in, because and I got to be honest here, I did just pitch someone directly really hard the other week, and she called me on it, and I'm so glad she did. And she knows who she is, and I'll make it up to her. But sometimes we get caught in like, I need work, I need business, so I'm going to throw out some offers, and it just doesn't work. People know what you're doing, and they don't want to be pitched. They want to be talked to, not at.
I love that. Well, in the cold outreach game, especially cold outreach, and I think there's a difference between cold outreach and warm outreach, and we can kind of touch on that as to why we're even putting out content in the first place, is to kind of go from cold to warm. But in the cold outreach space, the bar is so low. We all get these terrible direct message, pitches, and it's like, this, 4-paragraph piece, 12 bulleted list, links to, all of these white papers. And it's like, man, I don't even know who you are or what you're doing here, which means that there's so much opportunity for thinking about it in a different way. But at the same time, and that's where like the warm outreach, when you have someone who is engaging with your content, or you're already providing some value, then when you can come in and say, hey, also, I'd love to just give a piece of advice. And that was actually, I wanted to pull it up here. That was the piece of information that you gave me that kind of instigated this whole thing. If it's all right, I'm going to read it. You ready?
Yeah, you're right.
Let's see.
I hope it's
here.
good.
Yeah. Okay, you said thinks that's really the key. I was talking about how having a follower count's not the big deal. It's all about providing value, making those connections with real genuine connections. You said that's really the key. That and building an outreach strategy that supports building those connections and your monthly revenue goals. But then you said, hey, could I offer a small suggestion on your sales funnel? And who doesn't want a small suggestion? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then from there, you showed me that you had actually gone and looked at some of my stuff, and you gave me some actionable tips and advice. And it positioned you as someone who was already rooting for my success. And I thought that was pretty cool versus someone who just wants my money. You're like, hey, I'm already a team member. I'm already on your side. And of course, what did I do after that was I went and read through a bunch of your content and, checked out your website, and so, you do your due diligence just because, we're curious. And so the intriguing part of like the outreach strategy, positioning yourself as a friend, as a consultative partner, and then having that content on the back end to show your expertise, and then to also, drive interest and engagement to what you're doing. I thought that was really cool. So tell me, did I get the social selling or the Sell by Chat framework used on me?
Yeah, you did. But, I'll tell you, the goal isn't always to sell in those chats, although they do follow a similar framework. Sometimes you meet someone like this, it ends up, you're doing a podcast, or you just end up with a really great relationship with another creator who can help you grow. Maybe he's a short-term mentor without them even really calling that. I've had that too. Commented on a guy's post, we ended up in the DMs. He gave me a ton of help on my content without me really even asking for it. He just offered it, and we worked back and forth a little bit together for a couple of weeks now. You just have to look at it. You have to look at it as, how am I building my business meaningfully today beyond just pitching someone? And there is a lot more there than just having an offer and telling people about it. And I think the guys that, the DMs that we get where there's a white paper, a bunch of bullet points, and it's direct offer, they've never interacted with any of your content, and it's totally out of the blue. I think they get a bad rep on LinkedIn. Even some of the big creators in their newsletters and their posts, they're kind of slamming those people. And the truth is, we all started there at one point or another in our business. At some point, I was knocking on people's doors asking if they wanted me to clean their windows in a dirty t-shirt and filthy jeans because they just did their neighbors, and I'm expecting them to pay me, and they're looking at like this dirty kid going, why would I ever give you my money? But you learn, you learn about branding and presentation and how to talk to people. So, what they've done is picked up, I need an offer. I need to show value. I need to structure it. So I'm going to put a paper together. And then they've put effort to put it in the email and they've sent it to someone. And the truth is, people are probably responding with interest. But if you've got some experience, you're not looking at that like he's doing an amazing job. You're looking at it like, why is he still doing this? And he may have just started. It's another one of the reasons why I've built the ConvertMore program, because it goes through how to use this consultative selling, sell by chat methodology in a way that builds you a relationship at the same time, even if it's not someone you end up being able to sell to. But I feel like we need to give everyone the freedom a little bit to, go through that learning curve. We're all at different stages. You can't expect a brand new creator to hop on LinkedIn, suddenly be like, I know exactly how to have a conversation with this guy and gain his business without it selling like a sales pitch.
Yeah.
There's time and training involved. And I think you and I have probably had a little bit more of that experience having other businesses off of social media to know the difference between those conversations and what they result in. A lot of them haven't.
Well, and so I guess let me throw myself on the chopping block here, because as I was just ragging on these, one of our previous businesses and it's still in operation, working with an incredible partner out of Baltimore. We run a grant writing company. And so we write grants for a specific federal grant so that small businesses can fund renewable energy system projects. In our case, it was for solar. And we did cold outreach was how we started to connect. We knew exactly who our target customer was. So cold outreach was the fastest and easiest way for us to sell. And we absolutely put the first email as, hey, did you know about this? And oh my gosh, 50, 80% ROI on blah, blah, blah. We can do this, here's this. Here's our white paper breaking it all down, all the wrong things. So, and that's, again, I'm speaking absolutely from experience. So, lest anyone think that you can't, what is that, throwing rocks in glass houses or whatever. That's me.
No, but I still agree. DMs are really frustrating because there's so many, there's just so many. And there is so much open, free information out there to tell you not to do that because, unless you're doing it by the thousands, it doesn't work. And if you are doing it by the thousands, why?
Yeah.
It's so much more meaningful to build a personal connection by spending the time getting to know the person you're going to talk with, kind of like we did. But, if you are in that room where you're struggling with that sort of outreach system to understand where sell by chat fits into your business, because to be honest, there's a lot of people teaching content for inbound leads and grow your business that way. And there is a strategy for that. But in my experience, and you'd probably agree, like that takes a long time to do that organically. If you're not having conversations and bringing on work now yourself, you're constantly relying on that inbound, that your content is going to be just what it needs to be for someone to contact you. And I've always taken the approach of, well, why wait? If they're interested, why don't I contact them? If somebody shows up at my door with a basket of muffins, I'm going to be so much happier than if I have to go to a bakery to buy them. There really is something to be said for outreach, and it doesn't have to be a sales pitch. It can be a conversation if you understand how to structure it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you about is, here we are kind of bragging on outreach. Obviously there is a better form of outreach that I think you and I both would agree on. But one of the keys is how important outreach is in addition to your content strategy. And I think especially with a lot of, so, you and I are creators on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is, and that's only part of what we do. But we have taken the time to learn this platform, and it's a lot to expect a business owner who has another business that they're running, another thing that they're focused on, to come in and understand how LinkedIn operates. And so one of the values of having a coach or buying a course or working with a ghostwriter is that we can get you through that learning curve a little bit faster. So with LinkedIn in particular, and this is really timely based on TikTok's closure. So LinkedIn's algorithm is completely different than some of these other platforms that utilize what's called a social graph. And that's where it's all topic-based content. So if you're into this topic, it doesn't matter how closely connected you are to the creator, the algorithm is going to feed you that content, which is what allows like instant virality for someone who posts their first video on TikTok. Whereas LinkedIn is not that way. They're really focused on showing content and getting connections within the network that you have. And so there has to be some way of you expanding your network, and to do so in a way that is targeted towards the people that you can actually help. Because if you just go around scattershot connecting with random people, these aren't the people that you're going to be able to help that care about the content that you're putting out there. And so even that aspect of it. So when you pair all these things together, again, it's just a lot to ask a business owner to understand that. That's why we're here. That's why we're sharing this information. So yeah, what's your thought on not just shouting into the void with your content?
When I built my first business, having done some door-to-door sales and having a window cleaning company, I thought I understood how to talk to people and sell. It was 14 months before I made my first sale. And I struggled through it. Like, it was just, is this going to work? Is it not? My wife was supporting us at the time, waiting for it to kick off. And it was brutal, to be honest. If I had gotten a coach with what I know now, I could have made a sale in my first month. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I hate that expression, but you know what? It's true. Until you've talked to someone who's done it and has some experience, and you ask them, like, what do I need to know that I don't yet at this stage in my journey? You're just going to struggle to learn that over time organically. Mm-hmm. And so, now looking back, I could have saved 14 months of struggle and built my business sooner. I could have built my business to acquisition probably in 5-6 years instead of 12. I would have saved 5-6 years of my life struggling to build other businesses that didn't suit the way I actually want to work. And so, back to your original question, if you're just shouting into the void, posting content, thinking you're building a personal brand, or, you want to be a premium ghostwriter or whatever course that you've taken, and now this is your niche and your thing, what you don't understand is how to structure that in a way that gets you revenue today. And, that's business experience. I've been building and running businesses for 20 years now, and it's hard. When I first joined LinkedIn, I was terrified. And I trolled around for a couple of months, just seeing what everybody was doing. What are the rules of this platform I've never been on? And I posted twice. I got myself a coaching client in the first week from a conversation. I didn't have an offer yet. We ended up on a Zoom call, and I'm telling him like what he could do with his business, and was just pumped for what he was creating. He was a chef, which was totally something I had no experience with. So I was just excited for him. And he goes, how can we start working together? And I went, coaching? It sort of came around organically. And I had enough experience to know, like, this is business happening, so I should take it. Mm-hmm. And we had a great time working together, building his company. It's just understanding what is the purpose of the content I'm putting out there and who is it for? So instead of just shouting into the void of I'm posting stuff, building a personal brand, what is it that you're trying to build? Why are you offering them this thing? Is it from your experience over here? Is it because you've taken a course? Because I can guarantee if you've picked a niche, your business is not going to be that one thing. It won't just be ghostwriting. You'll end up working with a company that wants you on as a ghostwriter, but then they want you to manage all of their social accounts or to do some other marketing work for them. It's just going to expand in ways that you don't expect. And having some business strategy with some little experience on sell by chat frameworks, it just makes everything a lot easier when it comes to capturing revenue, which ultimately is your income. Yeah. We could get into the difference between business revenue and personal income later, but they are different. So, for a lot of the new entrepreneurs, they think 20 grand a month is like out of the realms of possibility for them. But most businesses are getting that at least a minimum to operate because they've got all of these expenses to run the company, and you are going to have that too. Like, you need to know these background business experience setups. I think you guys have experienced that too. What you're doing now has come from the experience you had with past businesses offline.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it definitely compounds in terms of like the knowledge that you acquire, but then also the knowledge that you bring to the table. I think, and that's something that when I was first hearing your story, it's fun that we had a connection over solar. So I am a co-owner of a solar company, and then you were telling me about your the story of this company and like transitioning your product into the solar space because that's just where the market was, and kind of goes back to your idea of, pivoting as the need arises and you see opportunities and can kind of chase those down. But to do so in a strategic way, so you're not just doing a little bit of everything for everybody. But yeah, that the business acumen, if you will, or the knowledge that you kind of bring to the table is a big part of what it is that Maggie and I, my wife, are looking to offer and wanting to develop within ourselves. So maybe a bit of even further background information. We call ourselves digital couplepreneurs because at this point, what we want to do is we want to build businesses online to allow for location and time independent income. So that way we can live the lives that we want to live. And then part of what we're doing is kind of like just sharing what we're doing along the way. That content creation process is what led us to ghostwriting. And, you mentioned a lot of free information out on the internet. There is so much value to be had out there. We actually have not taken any, courses per se in exactly what we're doing, other than just studying some of the best people doing it, having, calls like this. And so there is an opportunity to go out and really start to dive in and just build something to where you're starting to generate that revenue. And I think the key there is to actually get going, generate the revenue. And you had mentioned something that really stuck with me was like with the outreach in particular versus just content, there's a timing component to it as well. Like, yes, it might theoretically, just on paper, look faster to make money if you just start pitch versus, a consultative type selling process. But I actually think it's faster when you start to have those conversations versus, like you said, where you just did 14 months of, pitch, and then can't make the sale. So it's one of those things where, especially when you're beginning businesses, or whether you're a beginning business or a very successful business, when you're entering a new space like social media, recognizing that there are faster ways of doing things, but then there are other ways that you are playing a longer term game that then add to the flywheel. And I don't know if you want to maybe mention this or share your screen if you want on this idea that you had of whether you wanted to go laterally, if you know what I'm talking about, or you could have a newsletter and a landing page, or you could just do some direct messaging. And I know you're going to be probably posting about this soon. So if you have a moment to talk about that was something that I just found really intriguing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll share my screen because you know what? I'm probably going to post it tomorrow anyway, but I'll give you a quick preview. So
there we go. Sneak peek, everybody.
Sneak peek. Yeah. This is the system I use to build my business, and I use the term loosely because there was an organic component to it. There was an aspect of it that just sort of happened because I was having conversations, but this is sort of what a business structure looks like. You've got your content on one side, your content strategy then supports your newsletter or a free offer of some kind. A lot of creators are using these email series, which are really good because they're engaging. And then that leads to your landing page for your core offer, your paid service. And those three sort of go together, and it's all built around the content strategy. You post, you offer this free stuff, and then you hope that they buy and wait for inbound. And then this part of the middle, at the bottom, is direct selling in the sell by chat systems in outreach that everyone is afraid of. It shouldn't be this structure. It shouldn't be on the bottom. It should be a core part of the entire flow. But I put it down there because everyone ignores it. And the truth is I built my business on these first two. I was posting some content. I didn't have an offer or any free resource. I hadn't built the How to Sell on LinkedIn newsletter yet, so I had nothing. I was just having conversations with people in chat and was booking meetings. And at that point, I didn't even view it as booking meetings. I was just chatting with people to find out what they're doing in their business. And I love that. And here's how I do it. And then they're asking to work with me. So then, when you build that into a system and you understand how it works, you get which way the conversation should flow. How do they interact with content when I'm chatting with them? When do I introduce my free resource if I have one? Do I sell directly to them? And then the important bit is, how do I build my business on this? And those systems really come together differently for everybody. It could just be content and outreach. And you're not posting your core offer anywhere on LinkedIn. You just talk about it when you book a meeting with somebody. Or it could be the exact opposite. You post a ton of content, you list really clearly what your core offer is, and that's what the meeting purpose is, to talk about your core offer and whether or not they want it, and then you move on. There's so many ways to do this. You just need to understand how you're going to do it for your business and your goals. And that's where these calls come in, or coaching, because you can outline a structure for that gives you purpose. So you're not just shouting into the void with a ton of content waiting to go viral. You actually know, well, here's how I make my money. This is what my offer is, and this is who I want to give that to. And so I'm going to do a little bit of this every day. And then the overwhelm is gone. Your stress about building your business disappears. And even the days where you're not making money and book no chats, you know that you're doing things that will build your business. And you only have that confidence when you've done it in the past and have some business building experience. Otherwise, it's really stressful, and you sit there for 14 months wondering if you'd let your wife down, like I did. But it works out. You just need to learn the systems that build a business, and a lot of that is boring. It's not about going viral and posting amazing videos that everybody comments on. It's understanding how a company runs. And when you pair it with great content, it all gets a lot easier. But you do need to know both for things to work well and to work quickly. It's strategy, really. And we talked about this earlier. You just need to understand where strategy fits into what you're doing online. And if you don't know the answer to that question right now, book a call with a coach, pick one, and say, help me with my strategy. You'll save years.
Yeah. That's so cool. And lest this ends up becoming a pitch just for us. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of resources out there, by all means, we're here to help as well. I know that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you. I was like, man, intrigued by some of the things you were saying, because there is a holistic approach to this. I think so often we can either see LinkedIn as just a social platform. And so then we think that we have to be creators, or, we just are, like I said, posting content and kind of hoping things just magically happen. I think that there's just putting social media, or putting LinkedIn into the broader context of, it's a marketing channel just like anything else. And there are different and better ways to utilize this marketing channel to ultimately help your business. Because unless you're selling LinkedIn services, I mean, you're doing something else. And the key is, how can this one marketing channel just offer value to your already existing business? Because you know what? That's something we should just state outright right now. If there's going to be one thing that changes the game for you on LinkedIn, it is not thinking of yourself as a creator, but as a business owner. It will change every decision you make, everything you post, the comments that you leave. Getting caught up in the I'm a creator on LinkedIn. Yes, it is a creator economy, because that is the function of our business, but you are a business owner, and that has to be the goal. And if you're a business owner on LinkedIn and you haven't made any money this month, there's a problem with your business. So for all the creators, that are posting, waiting for inbound, thinking that they're running a business on LinkedIn, you're not. You don't have any revenue. Revenue equals business. That mindset shift, no, I don't teach mindset shifts, but it really does make a huge difference to the way you structure things and your workflow. Yeah. And I think that applies just as much to existing businesses that jump onto this platform. And see it as, we're just going to start, posting some stuff, and, we're going to be able to track ROI across this one marketing channel and see, sales double, triple, whatever, because it's social, right? So it's all these things kind of play together. And so, maybe as we're starting to wrap this up, because I think we have some really great insights, and I'm hoping we can have a future conversation about some of these other topics that we've been able to touch on. But Maggie and I are kind of on a mission, like I said, to build this lifestyle of recognizing that there's so much power and leverage in the internet, and in engaging and having these meaningful conversations. And so we're kind of committed to helping other people recognize the opportunity that having an internet-based business can afford them, or at least learning how to leverage it to complement their existing business. So maybe, if you wouldn't mind, Elliot, as we're kind of wrapping up, what's some advice you would have for someone who is thinking about either starting a business online, and and this is kind of based on your experience using the internet or using the internet more for their existing business to really start to build out some leverage and opportunity in that online space? And I'm kind of throwing this one to you out of left field, so I apologize.
No, I like it. It's a good question. It kind of builds the foundation of the one-on-one coaching that I do as well, because, I find, and I've done this myself, you get caught up in what you want your business to be. And so, early on, I was building a business. So I spent like 3 months on a logo and a website and my offer and pricing and all my documentation and everything was just ready to go. And I didn't have any clients yet. And I feel like if you're going to build something, whether it's offline or online, and you want to do it meaningfully, it's not going to come from building what you think looks like a business. It's going to be from running one. And that is way more boring than creating beautiful logos and websites and all your content and everything you want to post and your videos and downloading all the programs and the SaaS tech that you get to play with, buying new cameras, whatever it is. It's going to be I'm having a conversation with intentional purpose. I understand how my sell by chat framework builds my company. I know what pricing strategy is and how I'm using it. The operating procedures you have for a day, even if it's a post-it note of, I do these 1, 2, 3 things every single morning to build my company. That is going to mean so much more to you in 6 months, 12 months than having what looks like a business posted online. Really focus on learning, how do I build a business, not how do I become a creator? And I'll keep it short and leave it there because we could go on a long time on this, but yeah, just really think about, is this building a real company or is this building the image of a company that's not making any money? Because that's where every single creator, entrepreneur, new founder I talk with struggles. I've been doing this for 8 months and I took a course and I've been posting and I'm not getting any leads and I don't know why. Have you gone out to get any leads? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like it's hard. So learning the hard stuff first makes everything easier later.
Yeah. That's so cool. Well, Elliot, let's say someone wanted to reach out to you to get some advice, some consulting, or just have a conversation like what we're having here. How can they get in touch with you? I mean, maybe if you want to just give a plug on your course, I don't know, those kind of things. What can people do to reach out?
Honestly, the easiest thing is to jump on my profile and shoot me a message. Or comment on one of my posts. Always happy to chat. Like I honestly, I love these conversations where you get to hear how people are building their businesses and kind of integrate with that a little bit. But it's why I built the newsletter, How to Sell on LinkedIn, so that if you're looking to learn about that, but you're not ready to have a conversation or jump into a program with some formal structure, you can get a sell by chat framework to get you started. You can go test it out, see how it feels, to see if that's even the kind of company you want to run. Maybe it's not. Maybe instead of running your own business, you actually just want to offer your services to someone else running their businesses and support that. So try it out, But always happy to have these kind of chats. And I'm sure if they wanted to get in touch through you, they could too.
Very cool. All right. Well, Elliot, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Adam, it's been awesome. Thanks again.
Yeah, for sure. All right. We'll see you.
Bye now.